Daniel Jiang and I had been engaged for 2 years, but he kept postponing the wedding and refused to go through with it. He said Lily was only a sophomore in college, and that we should wait until she graduated before getting married. He told me that his wife could only ever be me, that Lily was just a child, and that he had watched her grow up. This time, I didn't argue with him the way I had before. I simply listened quietly. I didn't know when it started, but I had long since stopped wanting this wedding. Daniel Jiang had a niece who was 9 years younger than him. She was the maternal granddaughter of an old friend of the Jiang family patriarch. When she was 12, her parents died in a car accident, and she was brought into the Jiang household to be raised. When she turned 18, just as Lily officially came of age, it was also the day Daniel Jiang and I got engaged. On our engagement day, the girl who had always been obedient and well-behaved suddenly drank too much. Crying and laughing at the same time, she stubbornly insisted on toasting us. "Little uncle, I wish you happiness." She drained one glass, then poured herself another. When she turned and was about to toast me, Daniel Jiang quickly reached out and snatched the glass from her hand. "That's enough. Be good." Then he softened his voice. "You're drunk, Lily." Hearing that, Lily's already tear-filled eyes grew even redder. She lifted her fair neck, her gaze filled with grievance and stubborn defiance. "Little uncle, I've already grown up. Don't treat me like a child anymore." The man who was usually cold and decisive in the business world revealed a trace of heartache he couldn't hide. Lily tilted her head, looked at me, blinked, and asked, "Isn't that right, little aunt?" I nodded faintly as I watched the scene before me. An indescribable feeling rising in my chest, both unfamiliar and bitter. Daniel Jiang told someone to take the drunken Lily upstairs to rest. When he saw her stumbling and nearly falling on the stairs, a flicker of worry crossed his eyes. It was only then that he seemed to remember I was still standing beside him. The man who was usually quiet and distant now patiently explained, "She's probably been under a lot of academic pressure lately. Don't take it to heart." I suppressed the strange thought that flashed through my mind and forced a gentle smile. "I'll go make her a bowl of hangover soup." I told myself that he probably only cared about her as an elder would. But when I carried the bowl of soup to her bedroom door, I saw through the crack in the door, Lily clinging tightly to Daniel Jiang, crying as if her heart were breaking. "Little uncle, you don't actually love little aunt at all. The last time you were drunk, I secretly kissed you. You knew it was me, didn't you?" The porcelain bowl slipped from my hands and shattered on the floor, breaking into pieces. I stood frozen, staring at the overlapping shadows of the two of them cast on the wall. Daniel Jiang turned around, saw me, and hurriedly pushed Lily away, a trace of regret flashing across his face. "Vivian, it's not what you think. Lily is just drunk and talking nonsense. I only see her as my niece." Afraid that I wouldn't believe him, he panicked and pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. But he didn't notice that behind him, Lily was looking at him with a pain so deep it was impossible to hide. That day, I chose to believe his explanation. After the college entrance exams, the Jiang family immediately arranged for Lily to leave Haicheng and go to Beijing for university. I once thought that Daniel Jiang truly only regarded her as family. But whenever there was a business collaboration in Beijing, the first person to grab a suitcase and board a plane was always him. No matter how busy he was, once he arrived in Beijing, he would always make time for Lily. Lily was very smart. She never posted photos of herself together with Daniel Jiang. She only posted the places they had been, the gifts he gave her, or the photos he took of her, accompanied by deliberately ambiguous captions that she openly shared on her social feed. "That photo you took of me makes me look really silly, but he said this version of me is the cutest." At first, when I happened to see it, I only thought Lily had a boyfriend and was using her social feed to record her romance. But later, I discovered that the timing of her posts always matched up exactly. Completely coinciding with every business trip Daniel Jiang made to Beijing, it was only at this point that I was forced to begin doubting. When I opened Lily's latest post, I accidentally noticed a man's wrist slipping into the frame. My eyes locked onto the cufflink. My hands trembled as I zoomed in and out, over and over again, the phone screen repeating the motion like I had lost my mind. It was a gift I had personally ordered and custom-made for him for Valentine's Day last year, engraved with the initials of his name. I recognized it the instant I saw it. In that moment, the blood in my body seemed to freeze solid. Trembling, I took a screenshot. It took several attempts before it finally showed, sent successfully, to Daniel Zhang. After that, I sat quietly on the sofa, waiting for his reply. 1 hour passed, then 2. It wasn't until 5 full hours later that my phone finally rang. In the silent room, his exhausted voice came through from the other end of the line. "What's wrong, Vivian?" "I just got off the plane." I looked up at the wall clock. It was already 2 in the morning. For the sake of staying with Lily a little longer, he would rather sacrifice his usual routine and choose a late-night flight back. I opened my mouth, my voice hoarse. "About Lily's recent social media posts, don't you have anything you want to explain to me?" He paused briefly, then his tone quickly turned impatient. "Vivian, Lily is in Beijing. She has no relatives there. She's alone and very lonely. I'm her uncle. What's wrong with occasionally staying by her side?" Hearing that, my heart sank heavily. Just moments earlier, I had still been clinging to a sliver of hope that he didn't know about the deliberately ambiguous captions Lily posted. But no, he knew everything. He even tacitly allowed her to do it. When I fell silent, he switched to a detached, perfunctory tone to placate me. "All right, I know you're always gentle and understanding. You never make a scene without reason." I laughed softly. It turned out that all I wanted was a single explanation, yet coming out of his mouth, I was almost turned into the unreasonable one who was picking a fight. After that incident, I deliberately reduced meeting him and contacting him. He was busy with cooperation projects between the two families, and when he noticed that I didn't want to see him, he didn't get angry either. It wasn't until a few months later, on my birthday, that he took the initiative to invite me out to dinner. Under pressure from both families, it was hard for me to refuse. When I arrived at his company, he was still in a meeting. Bored, I wandered around the office and accidentally glanced at a drawer that wasn't fully closed. Inside lay a dazzling diamond necklace. I picked it up to examine it. The high-grade diamond reflected brilliant light, and I couldn't help thinking that it was probably the birthday gift he had prepared for me. However, after dinner, what he gave me was a pair of sapphire earrings. The smile on my face instantly froze. Unable to hold it in, I probed softly. "The diamond necklace in the drawer today, it's really beautiful. So beautiful that even with just a slight turn, the facets scatter a cold, 7-colored glow. It's not that I've never seen valuable jewelry before, but that necklace is far beyond anything you've ever given me." The smile on Daniel Zhang's face vanished in an instant, his lips pressed tightly together. "Vivian, don't harbor delusions about things that don't belong to you." I froze in place. Daniel Zhang had never spoken to me so harshly before. He had always been calm, rarely showing emotion, yet ever since Lily left Haicheng to study elsewhere, he had grown increasingly silent and difficult to read. "Daniel Zhang, I am your fiancé. That necklace is more precious than anything you've ever given me." The corners of my eyes burned. I bit my lip hard, refusing to let the tears fall. Am I really not worthy? The moment I finished speaking, he abruptly stood up, the air around him inexplicably icy cold. That birthday dinner ended in an oppressive, heavy atmosphere. A few days later, I once again saw Lily's social media update. A gift from the most important person. Really love it. Around her fair, slender neck was that very diamond necklace. Because she was showing off, she even took 9 selfies just to flaunt it. In that moment, I suddenly realized that the truly unnecessary person in this relationship was me. I no longer wanted to keep suppressing myself, so I spoke frankly to Daniel Zhang. He fell silent for a moment after hearing my thoughts, then gestured for his assistant to open a jewelry box. Inside was an exquisitely crafted, complete set of jewelry, even more dazzling than that diamond necklace. He said he had had his eye on this set for a long time. It was just that the auction hadn't started yet. But when he saw that I remained indifferent, his expression immediately darkened. "Vivian, you're being ridiculous. Competing with a young girl like that? Don't you find it embarrassing? Besides, this set is even more valuable than the necklace I gave Lily. What else are you dissatisfied with?" I let out a bitter laugh and suddenly realized that ever since our engagement, Daniel Zhang had been subtly training me, as if I should learn to turn a deaf ear and look the other way, letting him fly to Beijing time and again to accompany Lily, letting her repeatedly post ambiguous status updates related to my fiancé, letting Daniel Zhang claim with his words that he only saw Lily as his niece as a child, while his actions were completely the opposite. He clearly knew what kind of feelings Lily harbored toward him, yet he kept deceiving himself and deceiving me as well. At first, I could still hypnotize myself into thinking she was his family, and would later become my family too, so I endured it. But now Lily posted provocative updates again and again, openly, never blocking me. Wasn't she deliberately trying to let me see them? At this point, what was there left for me to endure? Daniel Zhang, I want to cancel the engagement. Hearing that, his brows knitted tightly together. Don't make trouble. The marriage alliance between our two families isn't a joke. Do you think you can just call it off whenever you want? From beginning to end, he had never once placed me in an important position. In his eyes, there were only interests and calculations. I couldn't accept a love like that, a marriage like that. I wanted to let go. Daniel Zhang's long fingers unconsciously tightened, his gaze carrying disappointment and reproach as he looked at me. Vivian, how did you become so heartless? I gave a faint, cold smile. If you want to be some kind of saint, go ahead. Why should I be forced to cooperate? He immediately used reproachful words again and again. Looking at the car already waiting outside the restaurant, I picked up my handbag and left behind only one sentence. If you care about Lily that much, then marry her. After saying that, I didn't bother to look back and turned around to leave at once. Based on my understanding of Daniel Zhang, he would choose indifference again to handle this relationship, neither agreeing to break up nor begging for forgiveness. Unexpectedly, he suddenly became enthusiastic instead. He came to pick me up from work again and again. In the past, whenever I wanted to ask him out to dinner, he would be so busy that he couldn't get away until 9 at night. Yet now, when I didn't look for him, by 5 in the afternoon, he was already waiting by the elevator on the 22nd floor of Wen Group. Assistant Lin followed behind him. Seeing my indifference, he stepped forward and handed me a large bouquet of flowers, smiling brightly as he greeted me. President Wen, President Zhang is here to pick you up from work. He even bought the manta roses you like the most. I only gave a faint smile and didn't respond, my calm gaze resting on Daniel Zhang. Today he was wearing a gray suit, the very one I had given him in the first year after he took over Zhang Group. In all our years together, I had never seen him wear it and had assumed he didn't like it. I hadn't expected him to break his habit and put it on today. Daniel Zhang's gaze lingered on me. He waved his hand, signaling everyone to leave, until only the two of us remained. He stepped forward and pulled me into his office, his tone rare and gentle. Vivian, don't be angry anymore. From now on, I'll try to spend more time with you. I won't go to Beijing anymore. I looked straight into his eyes, the corners of my lips curving in indifference. All right. In truth, deep down, I had long since stopped believing him. After that, he no longer took the initiative to mention Lily. And from that point on, I began to fully take over and handle all matters related to every cooperation project between Wen Group and Jiang Group. Work became increasingly busy, and the number of times I saw him gradually grew fewer. On the contrary, the attention he showed toward me increased instead. Just after I got off work, I received a message from him. When I opened it, I paused. Vivian, I have to go to Beijing for a trip. Lily is having dark thoughts. I exited the chat window and tapped into Lily's social feed. What does it feel like to be abandoned by the person you care about the most? Attached was a photo of antibiotics and alcohol. My expression didn't change as I calmly tapped like. Less than 5 minutes later, she anxiously sent me a message. Sister-in-law, do you really have to push things to the point where you can't even stand Uncle caring about me? I replied with just a single word, okay. On the other end, the typing indicator appeared, then suddenly stopped. She probably hadn't expected that someone like me, who had always maintained a composed, dignified facade, would reach a point where I couldn't be bothered with courtesy anymore. I'm only begging for a little pity from Uncle. Is that not allowed either? I've never thought about ruining the two of you or inserting myself between you. I replied in the same tone Lily often used in her social posts. She was probably infuriated by me. Lily decisively gave up on arguing altogether. When Daniel Zhang arrived in Beijing, I didn't know if it was guilt or something else, but he sent me a message to inform me. I'll talk to Lily. Once she stabilizes, I'll come back right away. Don't worry. I forwarded the entire conversation between Lily and me to him, deliberately making things more troublesome for him, then set my phone to silent and went to bed early. The next morning when I woke up, I realized there were piles of missed calls and messages. I couldn't be bothered to care. I leisurely washed up and went downstairs for breakfast. My appetite was unusually good today. I ate several emerald shrimp dumplings in a row. It wasn't until I arrived at the office that I turned off silent mode. The glaring red number 99 under missed calls immediately jumped into view. The very next second, my phone rang again. I put it on speaker and set it on the desk. Daniel Zhang's voice came through, suppressing his anger. "Vivian, why are you only answering now? You didn't even bother replying to my messages." I yawned, pretending to be innocent. I was too sleepy last night. I didn't notice and accidentally switched to silent mode. Whatever anger he had been building up became hard to sustain after hearing that. "How is Lily now?" I asked deliberately. Seeing me take the initiative to show concern, he immediately relaxed. "Vivian, I knew you weren't narrow-minded. Lily is fine. Just that from now on, every time I go on a business trip to Beijing, I'll probably still need to visit her occasionally. I'll let you know in advance. After all, we're family. Don't make things so tense." I was too lazy to listen to his lecturing. I turned off the speaker and tossed the phone aside. My gaze unconsciously drifted to the wardrobe next to me. When I opened it, it was empty. Most of the gifts Daniel Zhang had once given me had already been auctioned off or thrown away by someone I asked. The emptiness instead made my heart feel lighter. After a long while, I only replied blandly with an "okay." Family really was important. It was just that now, he was no longer important to me. In the second year after our engagement, he rarely took the initiative to bring up marriage. "Wait another 2 years. When Lily graduates, can we get married then?" He pulled me into his arms, the faint scent of red wine still lingering on him. He was drunk. I gently pushed him away, careful not to reveal too much. For over a year now, I had gradually cut off the cooperative ties between the Wen family and the Zhang family. He had vaguely sensed something. With a heavy gaze, he took my hand, his dark eyes locking tightly onto my face. "The only wife I will ever have is you. Lily is just a child. I watched her grow up, believe me." I listened in silence, but I had heard those words so many times that my ears were already numb. I couldn't be bothered to argue anymore. "I'm tired," I said, slowly withdrawing my hand from his grip. I kept a measured distance, then offered a faint, perfunctory smile as I saw him out. He let out a quiet sigh, so soft it was almost inaudible, then sensibly left the Wen family villa. When I opened WeChat, I saw another post from Lily, the same one as before. "After skiing in winter, eating hot pot is really the warmest thing." Attached was a photo of 2 people clinking glasses. On the man's left hand on the table was a ring identical to Daniel Zhang's engagement ring. The post had been uploaded a week earlier, during a period when he had never once mentioned going to Beijing. 3 years of love, 2 years of engagement. By the time I saw all of this, my heart no longer stirred at all. My phone suddenly rang. The caller was Daniel Zhang's rival, and also my senior from university, Jason Shai. "Vivian, have you made up your mind? If you cancel the engagement with the Zhang family, as long as the alliance between you and me is announced, Shea Group will transfer 15% of its shares to you." I fell silent for a moment, before finally making my decision. The industries of the Shi family and the Zhang family overlapped quite a bit, and because of that, Daniel Zhang and Jason Shai had long been in covert opposition. As early as college, the two of them disliked each other. When I was a freshman, they were both seniors in the same department, both outstanding figures. Naturally, one mountain could not accommodate 2 tigers. Later on, for reasons I never quite understood, Daniel Zhang took the initiative to pursue me. At that time, I was focused entirely on research and had no interest at all in romance. He persisted for a long time, until the day he said he would invest in my scientific research project. Only then did I look at him seriously for the first time. The man who was usually aloof grew awkward under my steady gaze. I think I even said something back then. If the experiment fails, your money will all go to waste. He didn't mind at all, and merely waved it off. So what? Before pursuing me, he had already investigated my family background and knew that I wasn't short on money. And since he himself was a prominent figure on campus, I only needed to ask around a little to learn everything about him. Gradually, I grew accustomed to his presence. Maybe it was because during those long nights of experiments he stayed up with me, sitting quietly by my side. Or maybe I simply wanted to try what being in love felt like. So I went along with it and stayed with him. But as Lily grew older, the relationship between him and me began to crack. After graduating, I joined the family company to take on management responsibilities, while also founding a technology company focused on researching new materials. Yet no matter how deeply I buried myself in the lab, Daniel Jiang was no longer free to stay by my side. Sorry, Vivian, Lily is in 10th grade now. The pressure is heavy, I have to tutor her. Lily cooked a really good meal for me and my parents herself today. Next time I'll eat with you. I could clearly feel that the care and attention he gave to his niece were increasing day by day, while the distance between him and me kept growing wider. Vivian, what do you think of this plan? My drifting thoughts were pulled back to the present. Jason Shi was looking at me anxiously. What were you thinking about so deeply? I shook my head. Nothing. Where were we? Say it again. Just then a commotion sounded outside. Someone pushed the door open and walked in, his hoarse voice questioning me. Vivian, why do you want to cancel the engagement? Secretary Pang followed behind him, his face full of embarrassment as he tried to stop Daniel Jiang, afraid he might do something extreme. It's fine. You can step outside first, I said calmly. When the door closed, the spacious office was left with only the three of us. Daniel Jiang glanced over and saw Jason Shi standing there, the corners of his eyes already red with restrained fury. When he pressed on aggressively, asking whether it was because of him that I wanted to cancel the engagement with him, I replied, so what if it is? And so what if it isn't? His fist clenched tightly, his expression a mix of confusion and fury. Jason Shi stepped in front of me, and I gestured for him to relax. Jason, go outside first. I want to talk to him alone. He looked at me, then glanced at Daniel Jiang before nodding. All right, I'll wait outside. Call me if anything happens. I nodded. Don't worry. The moment Jason Shi left, Daniel Jiang roughly grabbed my arm and tried to pull me away. I acted as if I hadn't heard him, and the force in his fingers tightened even more. The pain made me cry out in anger. Daniel Jiang, don't you think you look ridiculous right now? His face instantly turned ashen as he realized he had gone too far, and he hurriedly let go. I lowered my gaze to the red marks on my arm, then looked up to face him. He didn't ask whether I was hurt. Instead, he stared at me with a wounded expression. 5 years of feelings, can you really bear to throw them away like this? And you? I asked calmly. Can you let go of the so-called familial affection you have for Lily? I deliberately emphasized the words, familial affection. His body swayed slightly, his face alternating between red and pale, as if I had struck the deepest, most hidden secret of his. Ever since I discovered that her social feed was nothing but records of dates with him, I had already given him chances. He was arrogant, he neither cared nor bothered to explain. So in his eyes, I was supposed to close one eye and let it pass to satisfy him. He indulged her dependence on him. Even the jewelry set he later gave me as compensation, he had originally planned to give it to her, hadn't he? He froze. You want to know why I know? I continued. The last time Lily pretended to attempt suicide, she deliberately messaged me on WeChat, saying that it was originally a gift from you to her, and that you only reluctantly gave it to me to keep me. At the time, I had still been doubtful, thinking he wouldn't be despicable to that extent. Now, seeing his reaction, I laughed bitterly. It turned out Lily had been telling the truth. Vivian, listen to my explanation. He grabbed my shoulders tightly, his expression growing more and more panicked. But I'm not giving you the chance, I cut him off. That's right, Lily also told me she loves you, even if no one blesses it. She even sent me intimate photos of the two of you. The hands gripping my shoulders suddenly slackened, even his fingertips trembling slightly. Looking at Daniel Zhang like that, I let out a cold laugh, pouring out all the resentment and disgust I had accumulated for so long in sharp, cutting words. Daniel Zhang, do you know this? You really disgust me. If you truly only saw her as your niece, as family, you would know how to keep your distance, instead of letting her test your boundaries again and again. He stammered in defense, his voice shaking. No, I didn't. She was brought into my home when she was 12. I couldn't bear to hurt her. She doesn't understand things yet. I was so angry that I laughed. You couldn't bear to hurt her? Or is it that you were hiding filthy thoughts and didn't want to hurt her, so you chose to hurt me again and again instead? Do you really think I'm blind, that I can't feel anything, that I don't hurt? A girl who was already 20 years old, and he still said she didn't understand things. Do you think I'm an idiot? He had never seen me like this, being scolded by me until his face turned deathly pale, all the blood draining from it. He stood there speechless. After I finished speaking, I turned my back on him. I didn't want him to see the slight moisture gathering at the corners of my eyes. He wasn't worth it. There was no point in saying anything more. I told the people outside to come in. Jason Shi immediately stepped forward and shielded me behind him, his gaze vigilant as it locked onto Daniel Zhang. With me completely blocked from view, Daniel Zhang staggered away, leaving the office. Only then did Jason Zhai step aside. He hurriedly asked if I was hurt. I gently shook my head and said softly, Jason, the news of our alliance can be announced now. That very day, the news that I had cancelled my engagement with Daniel Zhang and, at the same time, announced an engagement with Jason Shi dominated the front pages of every major outlet. The internet instantly exploded. Fortunately, Jason Shi and I had prepared everything in advance, so there was temporarily no negative news unfavorable to us. On the contrary, the Zhang family fell into complete chaos. The man Daniel Zhang, who had once been a workaholic, was now said to be drowning himself in alcohol at bars every single day. The elders of the Zhang family were so anxious they were running around in a frenzy. In the end, Daniel's mother had no choice but to lower herself and come to see me. After only a short time apart, the woman who had once taken meticulous care of herself now looked hollow-cheeked and visibly worn. Vivian, I know that brat has wronged you. I never imagined he could be this muddle-headed, even with his niece. Embarrassed, she turned her head away. I listened quietly, letting her scold her own son, while I simply lowered my eyes and remained silent. After I had treated him coldly several times, it wasn't long before Daniel Zhang secretly went to Beijing again to look for Lily. By then, I had already reached a cooperation agreement with Jason Shi, so I persuaded my parents to agree to officially cancel the engagement with the Zhang family. After hearing me explain the ambiguous relationship in detail, my parents were both shocked and heartbroken, and they immediately agreed to the cancellation. The process of breaking off the engagement was actually far from smooth, because the Zhang family had always regarded me as their future daughter-in-law. For me to suddenly insist on ending the engagement came as a complete shock to both of Daniel's parents. It wasn't until I produced the intimate photos of Daniel Zhang and Lily, though I had blurred the woman's face, that they finally fell silent. From the moment I let go of Daniel Zhang, I had already regarded this as a private matter within their family. Based on my understanding of Lily, as long as she found out that I had gone to the Zhang family home to discuss canceling the engagement, she would definitely rush back and claim to be the woman in the photos herself. If that was the case, why would I need to expose anything further? I simply waited to watch the show unfold. Sure enough, after realizing that my decision was final, Daniel's mother had no other choice but to let Lily try to persuade her little uncle. With a long sigh, she said, I really never expected that Lily would develop such inappropriate feelings for Daniel. When Lily heard that Daniel Zhang and I had officially ended our engagement, she immediately rushed back. In front of Daniel's parents, she knelt down, crying and begging them to fulfill her and Daniel Zhang. Daniel's mother was so horrified that she fainted on the spot. The entire Zhang family was stunned. They had never imagined that the girl they had treated like a foster daughter for so many years could end up breaking moral boundaries with their only son, like this. In order to force the Jiang elders to accept their relationship, Lily did not hesitate to personally upload a large number of intimate photos of herself and Daniel Jiang onto the internet. She believed that Daniel Jiang loved her, and that it was only because of pressure from his parents that he hadn't dared to make it public. Now that even the last obstacle, had disappeared, Lily, like someone possessed, decided to gamble everything for this so-called love. Public opinion across the internet exploded. A top-tier wealthy family had suddenly been exposed for an incest scandal. What made it even more shocking was that this erupted not long after I had just canceled my engagement with the Jiang family. Accusations flooded in, condemning them for disregarding basic morality. Some even suspected that Daniel Jiang had already regarded the 12-year-old girl he took in back then as his own possession from a very early age. On short video platforms and trending searches, everything blew up overnight. Netizens flocked to the drama. No wonder Vivian Wen canceled the engagement. Her fiancé fell for the niece he raised for 8 years. If it were me, I'd have exposed this long ago. Why wait for the third party to post it herself? Knowing her little uncle was already engaged and still throwing herself at him, calling that love? How shameless. Don't rush to judge just yet. Lily was certainly in the wrong, but one hand alone can't make a sound. Who knows, maybe that man was enjoying the game of being fought over by 2 women. He wasn't innocent at all. The scandal burned hot for 3 days and 3 nights. In the business world, many stood on the sidelines, watching it all as a joke. Old Master Jiang was so furious that he suffered a heart attack and directly confined Lily, allowing her only 3 meals a day, while confiscating all her phones, computers, and any devices that could connect to the internet. Now, whenever Daniel's mother even mentioned Lily, she ground her teeth in hatred. "Vivian, I've said so much," she pleaded. "I only hope you can persuade Tianyu with just 1 sentence. Otherwise, a perfectly good person will be ruined just like that." Seeing that I still didn't nod, tears filled her eyes. "I'm not asking you to forgive him. I only hope you'll say a few words to wake him up. I have only this one son." In the end, I still didn't agree to Daniel's mother's request. 1 clean break would bring peace to both sides. Daniel Jiang and I had already made everything clear last time. Jason Shi was worried that Daniel Jiang might continue to harass me, so he picked me up from work and drove me home almost every day. That evening, after dinner at a restaurant near my place, Jason Shi suggested taking a walk to digest the meal, and I happily agreed. The late autumn wind carried a slight chill. He took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders, his broad hand naturally taking mine. We walked as we chatted casually, even talking about amusing things from our school days. Just as we were nearing the gate, a figure suddenly appeared in front of us. "Vivian, I want to talk to you one more time." Daniel Jiang's gaze fell on the hands Jason Shi and I were holding tightly. His expression grew even more desolate, his eyes lowered, his voice pleading. "Please, just one last time." I looked at Jason Shi, and he nodded. "I'll go inside and greet Uncle and Aunt. I'll come out to find you in a bit." I nodded in response. After Jason Shi went in, Daniel Jiang let out a self-mocking laugh. "Vivian, we haven't even been broken up that long. You're already this good to Jason Shi?" I withdrew my smile, my eyes turning cold as I looked down at him. "Daniel Jiang, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. The illicit feelings between you and Lily, I despise them. Jason Shi and I are open and above board. After canceling my engagement with you, openly and clearly, we are the rightful couple now. As for him, what is he?" "He liked you back then but didn't even dare to pursue you," Daniel Jiang sneered. I glanced sideways at him, my tone calm. "Actually, when you pursued me back then, it was only because you knew Jason Shi liked me too. Whatever he wanted, you had to compete for it. So with me, it wasn't about liking me, you just needed to beat him. Isn't that right?" "No, that's not it. I really did like you. It's just that you were too obsessed with your experiments, which made me feel defeated." He lifted his head, his eyes filled with a tangled mix of unwillingness, grievance, and rage. "Why couldn't you be like Lily, admire me, treat me as everything? What's wrong with that? Fine, you left. But you also took away all the cooperation projects between our families, driving Lily crazy, and then publicly exposed everything between us." The more he spoke, the more agitated he became, his steps unsteady as he staggered toward me. "Vivian." Jason Shai rushed over in alarm and kicked Daniel Jiang hard, sending him sprawling. "Are you okay?" The tension in Jason Shai's eyes was almost spilling over. I curved my lips slightly and replied, "I'm fine." It turned out that Jason Shi had only pretended to go inside earlier. He had actually been waiting nearby, guarding against Daniel Jiang losing control and hurting me. Daniel Jiang fell heavily to the ground, suddenly laughing and crying at the same time. "It's over. It's all over." At the beginning, if Lily hadn't publicly posted those photos, public opinion wouldn't have turned this bad. Now, the stock price had plunged catastrophically, with no bottom in sight. Shareholders were constantly pressuring to withdraw their investments. His parents were so angry they were hospitalized. He had never imagined things would end up like this. The stock? I lifted my gaze and looked at Jason Shai. He only gave a few light coughs, and I immediately understood. The catastrophic plunge in Jiang Group's stock price naturally had his hand in it. The business world has always been a place where blood runs like rivers. Daniel Jiang's own recklessness, causing cooperation between the two families to collapse, was, to the market, unquestionably bad news. Add to that my public cancellation of the engagement with the Jiang family, followed immediately by announcing my engagement with the Shi family, and investment funds that were accustomed to avoiding risk would inevitably dump Jiang Group's shares. "After all, I just made a mistake that any man might make," he said hoarsely. "Vivian, go back. Tell everyone it was just a joke, that we never really canceled the engagement." His bloodshot eyes looked both frightening and pitiful, devoid of any trace of the authority he once had as the man in control of Jiang Group. I laughed, finding it absurd. Even at this point, he was still pushing all the blame onto me. I didn't want to waste another glance on him. Jason Shai immediately took me away, shielding me as he escorted me home. Before leaving, he turned back and coldly threw out one sentence. "Daniel Jiang, you're not worthy of being my opponent. Don't make mistakes and then dump the blame on Vivian every single time." After we got home, Jason Shi leaned in close and let out a quiet breath by my ear. "What's wrong?" His eyes were filled with worry and unease. "Vivian, back then I was afraid of disturbing you. I planned to confess only after graduation." A shadow briefly crossed his gaze. "I didn't expect him to find out that I liked you. If I'd spoken up earlier, would things have turned out differently?" For the first time, I lifted the corners of my lips and took the initiative to hold his hand. "It's okay, it's not too late." Joy flared up in his eyes, mixed with happiness. "Vivian, are you willing to try liking me?" I looked past him to where an entire garden of pale purple roses was in full bloom, and nodded with a smile. Daniel Jiang had once given me the wrong flowers. He had long forgotten that my favorite was the purple beauty rose, not the manta rose. All those years together, he had never remembered the little things I loved. By contrast, Jason Ci, on the very day after we announced our engagement, asked for my permission and then planted an entire garden of purple roses in the yard. He even immediately transferred all the shares under his own name to me. Whether someone truly cares, whether they truly pay attention, I could feel it clearly. Curious, I pointed at the flowers. "How did you know I like this kind of rose?" Jason Shai's dark brown eyes curved into a gentle smile. "Freshman year. Once you asked whether the flower shop on campus sold purple beauty roses. I happened to be standing right next to you." He pulled me to sit down on the swing in the garden, his voice low and clear. "I also remember you like fried skewers and lemon tea at the West Gate. Every time you finished an experiment, you'd go there with your friends." I teased him. "Were you stalking me?" He startled slightly, his expression changing, and hurried to deny it. "No, my roommate ran into you a few times. A few people knew I liked you and kept urging me to pursue you." Thinking back now, one of them had probably told Daniel Jiang. In truth, many times he and I had passed each other on campus without stopping. But this time, he was certain he wouldn't miss it again. His gaze was gentle and lingering as he held my hand tightly. The two of us sat together on the garden swing, breathing in the rose-scented air that filled the path. In that moment my heart finally relaxed as I softly said, All right, I trust you. The sweltering summer had passed, and October brought a crisp, pleasant chill. It was also the season when flowers bloomed everywhere. It was time for me to throw away all the troubles, all the people who disgusted me, and begin a new life. Daniel Jiang's side story. On the night before my engagement to Vivian Wen, a few close friends dragged me out for drinks, laughing and offering their congratulations. Brother Jiang, your future sister-in-law is both beautiful and from a great family. You're really blessed. That's right. I heard sister-in-law even won a scientific research award back in college, a real prodigy. We raised our glasses in celebration. I could feel the sincerity in their joy, yet deep down, I always felt that something was missing between Vivian Wen and me. She was so outstanding, with a dignified, graceful beauty, gentle in temperament. By all logic, I should have been content. Yet most of the time, she made me feel bored, dry, lacking even the slightest sense of conquest. Like someone too perfect, the longer you stayed by her side, the more the novelty faded. That night, I drank myself drunk. My whole body burned uncomfortably when I was taken home. Someone sat by the bed, using a cold towel to wipe my face and cool me down. I thought it must have been Vivian Wen. Earlier, my friends had been noisily saying they would call her to come calm me down. I took it for granted that it was her. Acting on instinct, I pulled the person into my arms. I'm sorry it's so late and I still made you come take care of me. Before I could finish speaking, my lips were seized. Vivian Wen was usually very restrained, rarely taking the initiative to be intimate. But at that moment, she clumsily kissed me, and my heart inexplicably went numb. That's strange, Vivian. You're so clumsy, I teased while kissing back. Unexpectedly, the body in my arms suddenly stiffened and hurriedly pushed me away. Little uncle, it's me. I'm not Vivian Wen. I turned on the light. The sight before me struck like a thunderbolt. It was Lily. Her eyes were red and swollen, like a wounded little rabbit, trembling as she looked at me. What was even more shameful was that I didn't feel any disgust toward that kiss. The next morning when I woke up, I pretended as if nothing had happened. But Lily grew more and more dependent, more and more unable to stop herself. She saw through the fact that I harbored a hidden, abnormal feeling toward her. On the very day of my engagement, she even dared, right in front of Vivian Wen, to cry and cling to me. Looking at her fragile, easily hurt demeanor, I recalled that strange flutter from that night, to the point that I forgot Vivian Wen was standing right beside me. Lily was like a poison I had become addicted to. Yet I couldn't leave Vivian Wen. The two families had just joined hands in cooperation. The Jiang family needed the Wen family to expand the market. So I could only meet Lily in secret. When Vivian asked, I would use the excuse that she was my niece, that I valued family bonds. What was wrong with that? Time and again, I hypnotized myself, and her as well, with those words. I thought things would continue peacefully, like that. But that day, while I was still in Beijing with Lily, my father called in a rage. Vivian Wen already knew everything. Whether I agreed or not, the engagement had to be cancelled. In that instant, panic overtook me. I grabbed Lily tightly, my eyes bloodshot, roaring as I demanded whether she had done something to make Vivian angry. She cried and shook her head, saying no. But I knew for certain that her hand had played a part in it. On the flight back to Haicheng, fragments of the 5 years I'd spent with Vivian flooded over me like a tide. Things I had thought long grown dull only made me awaken when I was about to lose them. It turned out I still cared about her. I had simply grown accustomed to her presence and had therefore ignored her pain and hurt. I rushed to her office, only wanting to ask why she had canceled the engagement. Perhaps we could still talk. As long as she gave me a chance, I would decisively give up Lily. Unfortunately, it was already too late. The person standing beside her, without needing to say anything, I already knew she would never return to my side again. How long can someone live as a secret before it destroys their sense of worth? Love and Lies story.